I was at the gym earlier today, and there was one of those throwback playlists on, and these are kind of fun. You hear songs that you heard from you heard first in your teens or your 20s or your 30s, and it's a little fun nostalgia. And hey, it's Memorial Day weekend, so what better way to bring back some memories of some fun earlier times in your life? Now, some of those songs remind me of really happy times. And sometimes, though, those songs will remember or make me remember a relationship I was in at the time. Or maybe it's for you, it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend from when you were younger. Maybe it's the person you're still with. But I often will put myself in the place where I was at that time, and I'll remember a fight I had with somebody. I'll remember a hard time that I was having. To me, it's a little melancholy to think about that, but I think the poignant part behind it, though, is that I just kind of shake my head and say, well, that was kind of dumb. Why was I arguing with her about that thing at this time? Or why did I make such a big deal about this other thing? And I don't need to get into specifics here. I think you know where I'm going with this. But it's Memorial Day weekend. And I think, aside from remembering those who served our country, or maybe your country if you're outside the U.S. when you're watching this, it's a really poignant time to remember those who have made sacrifices for us so we can have the things that we have. But when I think back on memories, I often like to reflect on how far I've grown from that time or since that time. So even though I have some stupid memory about a stupid argument that I'll never have again, the important thing is that I'll never have that kind of argument again because I've grown. So don't paint me as someone who's negative here. I'm trying to find the positive in the difference between the man I am right now and the man I was, or the young man, the almost man I was when I was much younger. So let me turn that on you. When's the last time you had that throwback playlist that brought a little nostalgia back? Was it all fun and games? Was it all smiles? Or do you maybe remember something that maybe you're not so proud of? Or let's flip that again. Maybe you're proud of who you are now because you've grown since the person you were then. How often do you think about that? And here's where I'm going, because this was just a trigger for me earlier today, but how often do you stop and think about the person you are now? How often do you give yourself credit for the person you've grown to be? Are you just beating yourself up for who you're not? Look, I think you should have goals. I think we should all strive to be someone better than we are now. We should grow in some way. There's always another step to take. There's always a way to grow. But don't forget, you've had that mindset for years. And that mindset has brought you places. That mindset has gotten you to where you are right now. Give yourself credit. Give yourself credit for growing. Selling is hard enough. Life is hard enough to constantly be pounding yourself down. It's good to strive for more. And I don't care about all the gurus out there who will tell you that you can be so much more than who you are right now. Yes, you can, of course. But don't forget about who you've already become. Because if you don't give yourself credit for that now, who's gonna? I want you to think about this. Just because it's important to pat yourself on the back sometimes. Sometimes that pat on the back is the only momentum that helps you keep going forward. And we're going to get into that slow part of the summer here where you could easily talk yourself into believing that you are not half the person that you actually are. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit next week. So this is preempting that a little bit. But I just want you to remember that you've come a long way to get where you are. Make sure you give yourself a little bit of credit too.